As many of you guys already know, there's many different ways of making money from sneakers. And the way that I've been doing it for many years is buying directly from the retailers. This category can be split in a few different subcategories. We have in-store releases, we have online releases, and then the online release section can be split in a few more subcategories. So the first one is manual. In other words, you're not using a SNEAKERBOT, you're just going through the website as you should. And then the other one is obviously going to be using SNEAKERBOTs. Now, why is this one of my favorite methods? Because after you've overcome the really high learning curve, the time commitment to do this side hustle is very small. For the most part, that is. And number two, generally it has better profit margins than the other ways of selling sneakers, being that you're buying it directly from the retailers, which means you pay retail price, nothing more, nothing less. Or maybe sometimes less, depends if you're able to get some good discounts somehow, which I've done many times in my web series. And the next reason is because you can actually pair this up with all of the other ways of making money from sneakers. And that's because of the low time commitment when going for these drops online. In 2022, I've vlogged the entirety of my reselling operations for 5 months, showing my exact expenses, showing my steps, showing what I copped, what I sold, how much money I made, etc. And throughout that time period, I've had many manual cops and a lot of SNEAKERBOT cops. Today, we're going to be looking at how much money I made from each of these categories. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I went back and rewatched all of season 2 of Sneakers to Riches, and I took note of what I copped with a bot and what I copped without a bot. Here are the results. Everything here highlighted in green are things that I copped with a SNEAKERBOT, and things that are highlighted in blue are things that I copped without a SNEAKERBOT. So now let's calculate the profit that I made from each individual thing. So I separated these in different sheets, so I'm gonna go to bot, and these are all of my botting wins. So let's see how much we got in terms of sales. So we're gonna take the total sum of the payout amount, and we made almost $79,000 in sales, and the cost of all of these sneakers is going to be around $58,000. So this is the sales after fees, and then this is how much all of that cost me. When it comes to botting, there's obviously going to be expenses. These expenses are going to be server costs, proxies, bots, etc. I did not include any of the initial costs involved with botting, being that I paid for them a really long time ago, and that's generally a one-time investment. So it's not something I'm gonna decide to include here, but if you're just getting started sneaker botting, then initial expenses obviously is an important number to consider. So I'm gonna go over to my expenses section. I already did the calculation here. It's gonna be about $12,000, and then paste it here. So now when we do all the math, what is the total amount of profit that I made for botting all of this stuff? And by the way, this is over the course of 5 months. Let me just remind you guys of that. So sales minus cost minus expenses, and we get $8,737. So that's how much money I made botting over the course of 5 months. Now we're gonna go over to manual. Let's see how these numbers stack up against the botting numbers. So we're gonna go to sales, gonna take the sum of the payout amount, cost, purchase price, and for expenses, we're not gonna put in anything in expenses right now, but let's see how much this number ends up being. Equal to this minus the cost, and we make $3,421 in profit by not using a bot. Now, personally, for me, I can make the argument that this number can be much higher, because if my primary mode of buying sneakers is using a bot, then obviously manual isn't something that I'm going to be focusing on too much, because when it comes to some bots, it needs your full undivided attention for you to operate them at the most optimal possible way. And if you're going to be manualing at the same time using your bot, then there's a chance that you just don't hit anything. And that's why the profit figure for this could be higher. But are there really no expenses for getting this amount of profit? Actually, there is an expense. There doesn't have to be an expense, but the vast majority of things that I was able to sell under this manual category is because of the information that I got. That information came from the cook group that I was using at the time, which was Notify, which costs $49 a month. So over the course of 5 months, 49 times 5 my expenses are $245, and we're just going to subtract that from the profit. So my total profit ends up being $3,176. And the main reason why I didn't include it at first is because I already have it included under my botting expenses. So technically, I didn't pay anything extra for me to be able to get these cops. But if I went into this without a bot at all, then this expense is absolutely necessary for me to achieve this profit number. And secondly, if I didn't use a bot at all and I was focused fully on manual, I wouldn't be surprised if this would be anywhere between $300 to $500 more. So maybe we could just leave this at approximately $3,500. So on average, if we take that 3,500 divided by 5, I made an extra $700 a month. And if we do the same thing with a bot, profit divided by 5 on average make an extra $1,700 a month. So this proves that it is absolutely possible for you to make a somewhat decent amount of profit not using a bot at all. All you really need is information on how to cop from the few manual friendly websites and which items you can brick flip, all of which should be provided by your cook group. Now let's talk a little bit about risk. What is the risk when you bot? The risk is basically anything that goes under expenses. Now, it is absolutely possible for a botter not to cop anything at all. So if we cop nothing, then over the course of 5 months, we would have lost $11,743. That's absolutely insane, but it happens to a lot of people. That's why botting isn't really as popular now as it used to be. If it was profitable for absolutely everyone and everyone has a profitable month every single month, then you guys would see a lot more botters still. But that's just not the case. There aren't too many botters anymore. But does that mean botting is dead? Absolutely not. I spoke in detail about the whole botting is dead subject in this video over here, somewhere up here. It's also going to be linked in the description, and I explain why botting is actually in a really good place right now. But nevertheless, botting still has some big risks. So if you don't cop anything, not only do you lose the money that you paid for everything, but you also lose all of that time that you've spent trying to learn everything, reading release channels, watching guides. You would have lost all of that time as well. That's if you decide to stop botting altogether. But if you decide to keep going, then surely all of that information and time investment that you've made will end up being handy at some point. And the reason why starting out botting is a lot more time consuming than just not botting at all is because whenever you buy or rent out a bot, especially AIO bots, you're gonna have to learn how to optimize your setup for every single website that bot supports. However, when you're going manual, usually you only have to worry about a few websites and then you have to study those as best as possible. And that's basically it. Also, you don't have that much of a risk. You risk $49 a month. Worst case scenario, you lose $49 a month. Best case scenario, you become really good at it, you're consistent, and you have luck on your side, where you're able to make additional income without having to pay for all of those extra expenses that comes with botting. However, something to keep in mind for both manual and botting is that the amount of income that you make can be highly dependent on the number of drops that end up happening. So if there aren't really that many drops throughout the course of a month, then there's not really much you can do about it. And that's why generally I advise people that usually flip sneakers to also diversify the amount of items they flip, not just sneakers, because a lot of these premium cook groups, they do offer these other services such as hat flips, streetwear flips, maybe some electronics, maybe some toys and collectibles. Some of them even offer Amazon FBA, which can be very, very lucrative. So you might as well take advantage of that, because if you are in a cook group, you already have that information there. Since you're already paying the monthly fee, if you have time to do it, then why not? Why not make more money? That's also another reason why I've never really recommended botting to be a replacement for a full-time job, because I can't imagine not being able to pay my rent just because Nike didn't drop enough sneakers for a certain month. And luck does play a bit of a factor into your success rate, so it's possible for you to just get unlucky for a few months and then you're gonna become homeless because you got super unlucky. And I wouldn't want that for anyone. So anyways, I hope you guys learned something today. If you want to check out my video about whether or not botting is dead and my opinion on it, I made a video. You can watch it over here and subscribe to my channel. Why not? Just do it. Anyways, I'll see you guys on the next one.